Hello Ragers, I hope that you're all doing well. Now, wearing clothes may not be your thing, but it is something that a lot of people have been getting into recently. It is kind of strange, and I don't really see the need for it, but for the sake of today's video, I wanted to put myself in the shoes of someone who is trying to start taking this fashion stuff seriously. Okay, I'll be for real. I find it very curious how we all wear clothes, yet you will find that upon engaging with fashion more, that fashion can be one of the most unwelcoming, confusing, intimidating, and gate-kept hobbies or interests. Obviously, this is from the perspective of someone who is terminally online, but I imagine in the real world you can wear whatever and chances are no one will really care. I can assure you that your coworkers do not know or care that you are wearing Ann Demeulemeister and posting outfit breakdowns on TikTok to destroy lonely fashion demon. I've been pondering this fashion stuff a lot recently, and I have a few thoughts that I want to share with you all. The main points I want to discuss pertain to how intimidating it can be for someone who is just getting into fashion with regard to which sources to use and who to go for when looking for advice. This is especially confusing for someone when everyone online can claim to be a stylist, a critic, or a journalist, when in reality they have no real classical training and their only qualifications are that they've been making fashion content for a certain period of time. I'll also go into notions of gatekeeping, fear-mongering, the competition, uniqueness, circle jerk, Twitter discourse, double standards, and whatever else I feel like ranting about. After I express my gripes, I will attempt to provide some solutions with regard to what sources to use, and just some general wisdom and insight into my personal beliefs. I hope this video can serve to help anyone feeling stuck, provoke some thought, and basically I just need reassurance that I'm not alone in feeling this way. So please feel free to comment and feed into this echo chamber that I hope to create. Getting into fashion is sort of a weird thing to say, since pretty much everyone wears clothes, and I'm sorry to any Forest Outlast 2 nudist cult viewers I have. I'll try to be more inclusive next time. Unfortunately, there aren't government-mandated Margiela uniforms for everyone, but we all participate in fashion in one way or another on some level. There are also many ways to engage in fashion. Obviously, there's the act of dressing, which is literally just putting clothes on. Well, on the other side of things, you can engage in the more theoretical, historical, technical, philosophical side of things, where you can dig deeper and learn the lore. These deep cuts of niche fashion knowledge can be broken down into a few different formats that you've probably seen before, such as the fashion iceberg, the pipeline, circles of hell fashion meme, or whatever it may be, as well as the fashion cycle. And they all serve a similar purpose, but to me, all except the notion of a fashion cycle are pretty obsolete formats. The iceberg format, of course, highlights the most accessible, mainstream, well-known things at the top, and as you go deeper, it gets into the more niche, hard to find, if you know type stuff. Let's be for real though, this iceberg is not the be-all, end-all, and is very flawed. It was made a few years ago, of course, but that just goes to show how quickly things can change, and how everyone can have a different perspective on things, because I feel as if a lot of these things should be way more higher up, while much more niche, archival, actually obscure brands or collections should be lower, if the iceberg is gauged by how much effort it takes to acquire these brands. A lot of it is pretty surface level, but back to the main point of these formats being obsolete, sites like Grail make it so that you can just acquire any of these brands in one search. The magic of working towards stuff, progressing, and acquiring Grails is sort of redundant. Obviously, someone who has done the research and been in the game for a while will have a much better appreciation for the garment, brand, or collection than someone who just saw insert trending thing on TikTok here and immediately went online to a marketplace to buy it. Hence, returning to tradition and discussing the phenomenon of a fashion cycle makes more sense. Basically, you start out naive, blissfully unaware yet curious, you wear whatever and you don't really care. Alas, you begin to gain sentience. You see your favorite artists wearing cool stuff, you hear about certain brands, someone gifts you a pair of raw denim, you find something cool at the thrift store, some sort of catalyst acts as your fashion awakening, and you begin to dig deeper. Now, you start following more mainstream fashion-oriented sources, you download the Vogue Runway app, you start paying attention to Essence sales, you listen to Throwing Fits, but this still isn't enough. Now, you're up till 4 AM on Rakuten JP attempting to snipe rare custom archival one-of-one garments that you won't even wear. You're on Discord BSTs and private servers with 20 members that just trade the same 5 pieces of clothes. You don't even leave your house anymore, and when you do, it's just to go to the post office to receive more packages, which have become your only source of dopamine. Until one day, it all comes tumbling down. You see a TikTok. It reads, 70 kg Panda Buy haul. A Dom Corleo song plays in the background. And as you witness the worst unboxing you've ever seen in your entire life, you snap. You wake up the next day, pushing aside the Yohji Yamamoto in your closet to reveal a Nike Tech fleece. You put it on. The cycle repeats. Okay, I may have gotten a little off track, but you get the idea. We all go through some sort of treacherous journey when deciding to learn more about fashion. Obviously, that was a very dramatized example, but stranger things have happened. I know a lot of people got burnt out around 2020 and 2021, myself included, which is a contributing factor to why I stopped posting on here and Instagram for quite some time. But similar to art, fashion is one of those things that you just don't quit. You may go through dry spells or phases where you sometimes don't really put the same effort in, and your interest may wane, but you don't just stop wearing clothes. Feeling burnt out or less interested is completely normal with any hobby or interest, like gaming, music, art, whatever else. But with fashion especially, there is a lot of pressure that one can experience. Pressure to keep up with expectations, to stay up to date on whatever is going on within the industry, to stay on top of trends, different cycles and seasons, and much more. It can definitely feel overwhelming, and I would imagine it gets very confusing and intimidating as a newcomer. Now, game is game, and creators have to do what they have to do to pay the bills, but there is quite a bit of fear-mongering with regard to fashion advice videos. Obviously, it isn't the most serious thing, and this is more so an algorithm, social media, clickbait thing, but seeing a decrepit red Wojak in an all-caps title saying your style sucks and you need to die over and over again is a little much. I find a lot of fashion content to be very repetitive and not the most welcoming. It's all stuff like, these trends are over, and if you wear them, you're stupid as hell and will get shot on sight. Then they'll go on to say like, yeah guys, you shouldn't wear AF1s, you should be wearing Adidas Sambas instead. I feel as if these videos just don't really think too highly of their audience and attempt to take advantage of their attention. Don't get me wrong, there are a lot of good sources out there, it's not all doom and gloom, but I really do feel as if content creation being seen as a career path or a full-time job has hampered a bit of the creativity of things. I do this as a hobby first and foremost. It does make money, but that's just a bonus, since it has allowed me to buy a custom spec Herman Miller Aeron and a new GPU so I can really sit at my desk and grind out my Destiny 2 pinnacles. Work on content for you all. But I always try my best to make unique, interesting, and different videos. It obviously sucks spending a lot of time on something and having it not do so well, but at the end of the day, I always learn from it and strive to improve, mostly for myself. If I only cared about validation and money, I would post the same fashion trends videos every day. Similarly to how I dress, I don't really like being the center of attention, so I much prefer to have the focus of my videos on the actual content and agendas I'm trying to push rather than myself, which is why I don't really talk about myself that often. But for the time being, I will continue to do what I do until one day I graduate and go on to work some do-nothing corporate communications job and pretend that none of this ever happened. Anyway, there are just so many sources out there, so many content creators, and it can definitely get confusing with regard to who to trust. Anyone can just claim to be a stylist, a critic, or a journalist, but how can you even tell who to trust? It is essentially Call of Duty Warzone out there, a BR to see who can be the ultimate gatekeeper. Everyone is seemingly in competition with each other, when in reality, it is really not that deep, nor does it have to be that serious. It could all be so simple. If you remember at the end of January, Lucas Sabbat expressed similar gripes with gatekeeping and style, saying some crazy takes like, style is priceless? Wow, I don't know who could have thought of that one.
And last thing is that style is not about wearing rare clothes or wearing designer. It's about personal identity, style, understanding what looks good on you, understanding yourself, being comfortable. Like, there's so many things that play into style. And people that are insecure about sharing information about clothes because they don't want people to be on the same shit as them, then you don't have style, because you're comparing yourself to the next person. You aren't the next person, you're you. How you wear something is not how the next person can wear something. It's completely different. I can wear the same shit as the next guy and will look totally fucking different. But whatever, don't take my word for it.
But honestly, I thought this was common knowledge now, but it did spark quite the debate. He went on to express that swag has nothing to do with clothes and everything to do with the person, saying to not let people tell you what's cool. And yeah, obviously that makes sense. Nowadays, we see a lot of people just attempting to replicate the individuality of others. A lot of people do not know why they think that something is cool. They're just doing it because they saw someone else do it. Obviously, people are not obligated to say where they got shit from, and you're not entitled to all information, but gatekeeping is kind of just tiresome. Like, be for real, you are not gatekeeping number 9. You can very easily figure stuff out on your own. You just have to put in the effort. But this is honestly just an online issue. If you're asking someone about their clothes in real life, you're probably just trying to make conversation or give them a compliment. Just like if someone asks you what your shoes are, you really don't have to be weird about it. There's a good chance that as soon as you tell them, they're not going to instantly steal your entire persona. Literally everything is one Google search away. I can screenshot a Luca fit pic, post it into Taobao, and immediately call up everything I wanted. But you can't exactly replicate how someone carries themselves. The clothes don't make the man, or whatever they say. However, when people do break down their fits and explain what they're wearing, all hell breaks loose. Like for instance, last month when this tweet blew up, which highlights a prime example of how the fashion community online can be pretty unwelcoming at times.
Right now your fit, go. Number 9, Spring Summer '06.
Okay.
Welcome to the Shadow. Just Dickie shorts. Whatever. LGB fur hoodie, and that's pretty much it.
Okay, what about you? What you got on?
I got Dirk Bickenberg's on the feet. The 6 was 9. I got LGB, Vivian Westwood, Hysteric, and Mihara Yasuhiro, and Chrome.
The Vivian too?
Yeah.
What do the band-aids represent? What are they? They Margiela or what?
They just Walgreens, man. That's the wave. Go to Walgreens.
Running it.
I would be pissed too if I stood outside all day waiting for someone to film a TikTok asking me to break down my outfit and having it be met with this much discourse online. To me, there's nothing wrong with what they're doing. It can be seen as try-hard, but I would much rather people dress like this than wear something like fog essentials and panda dunks. And at the end of the day, what someone else is wearing does not impact your life whatsoever. Simply let them do their own thing. Sure, you can criticize and share your thoughts, but some people go way too far and start getting so personal for no reason, which, again, what do I even expect from Twitter? Hopefully, you can at least see from this how the fashion community can be pretty unwelcoming to some of its own online. And I'm famous YouTuber FHTV, and I'm petrified of having someone come up to me filming a TikTok. I couldn't imagine how someone just getting into fashion might feel after seeing this. It's very funny, too, how the same people insulting this probably wear some bullshit and push for inclusivity, and there's a very good chance that no one would say this stuff IRL. They also didn't really ask for this, and they're not there to defend themselves after all the backlash. It would be one thing if they posted it to Prime/FA, like you'd sort of expect them to get called some sort of slurs, but I don't think that they could have foreseen this. And to continue with that point and segueing into the solutions section of the video, asking for advice on anonymous boards is probably the best way to get the most real, brutally honest advice. Obviously, it's important to keep in mind the biases of certain platforms and communities, and a lot of places aren't really what they used to be. I feel as if this is in part to a lot of more niche communities forming on Discord, which kind of sucks in my opinion, since it splits up communities even further, makes it more confusing for newcomers, and adds an extra layer of exclusivity. And taking it a step further, people who have Patreons that include access to private fashion-related Discord servers too, like come on, or even Patreons for style advice. I don't know, that stuff to me is just insane. Obviously there's been like exclusivity and shit in the past and gatekeeping within like Facebook groups, but I really don't like how the meta has unfolded in recent years. Everything is behind another link or paywall, and it's just so weird to me. You'd think that in a time where we are essentially in an information overload, that there would at least be some accessible ways to simply discuss fashion, but oh no guys, subscribe to my Patreon and then join my private Discord server, and then pay an additional $5 a month to join the VIP lounge where I'll pop in once a week to lecture you about proportions. Putting aside my disdain, there are still quite a lot of good sources out there, which I will break down into a few different categories, pertaining to people who give advice, information, and inspiration. Since YouTube is the platform I'm most familiar with, I will be using examples from there, but this can be applied to other platforms as well, of course. The advice category is pretty straightforward. You're seeking guidance, and this source serves as your saving grace. Obviously take it with a grain of salt and use it as a starting point to put your own spin on whatever they're saying. Whoever is giving the advice is not the be-all end-all fashion god. Their word is no better than yours. Consider what they're saying, see if it applies to you, and don't let someone on YouTube or TikTok or IG Reels decide what you think is cool. With regard to information, these are sources that provide their insight, thoughts, and knowledge on whatever fashion lore topic. These can be helpful when it comes to learning new things or opening your mind to new concepts or ideas within fashion, or just interesting content like video essays. I think someone like Fashion Lover Forward does a great job with this. Then, finally, there are sources to use for inspiration. These are creators who often produce more lifestyle-oriented content. Whether they show off their pickups, day-in-a-life, vlogs, or whatever else, it can serve as a good way to foster parasocial relationships and adopt new personality traits. Half kidding, of course. I think this style of content is pretty comforting, lighthearted, accessible, and a nice change of pace from being constantly bombarded by all the new TikTok stylists. Furthermore, depending on what route you want to go into when getting into fashion, there are a variety of ways to do so on so many different platforms. For instance, if you're interested in more traditional high fashion talk type stuff and want updates on the latest runway or industry news, Twitter has a pretty good community for that. Just go to like the Fashion Law or any fashion publication account, look at who they're following, and follow people that you think look interesting. That way you're following the contributors and journalists for these magazines instead of the actual publications themselves, because, let's be honest, one can only take so much of complex style and high snobiety. And again, just like with other influencers, don't solely base your opinions off of their content. Following people within the industry is just a good way to stay up to date on current events. Also, this may be a bit out there and crazy, but if you are getting into fashion and want to be a part of some community, try being nice and making friends. I'm not saying be a reply guy and dick ride whoever, but try replying to others in the comment section of creators you like, contribute to the greater conversation, and when you get deeper into things, try posting on forums or even try joining a public Discord server. There are just so many ways to do so. But obviously, just be normal. I often see threads on my own posts or videos getting way too out of hand, but don't stop commenting, guys. guys, it's for the algorithm. Anyway, I've talked about it before, but Pinterest, Instagram archive pages, mood boards, fashion-related accounts are all good sources too. Style.com or Style Zeitgeist are good for updates, same with BOF and the Fashion Law, GQ, Vogue, all the traditional sources are good too. Disregarding social media for a second, if you are trying to get into fashion and stay on top of things, definitely check out standard industry articles every so often. I'm not saying read 20 a day, but whenever you're bored and have some free time, there's some interesting perspectives and notions being raised. And again, probably stay away from complex style. And as mentioned previously, the Twitter method for finding fashion sources to follow can be applied to Instagram as well. Look through any fashion publications following, like follow contributors, influencers, bloggers, anyone with a unique perspective that you think is interesting. Although this is passive information that will come up in your feed, putting in the extra effort to actually read what these individuals have to say will certainly help further your understanding, even if there isn't a Subway Surfers video under it. But honestly, getting into fashion as a hobby all boils down to going at your own pace, putting in the effort, staying true to yourself, and doing what you like. The internet is a good starting point and can be helpful when attempting to challenge your perspective or learn something new, but as we've discussed, it can be pretty hellish at times. Just like the fashion industry itself, it's very performative and hard to keep up with. But to recap my main concerns, getting into fashion can definitely feel unwelcoming and intimidating to newcomers online. Stuff moves very quickly and it's hard to keep up with. It can definitely all feel very overwhelming at times, as there's so much content out there, everyone can claim to be anything online, so it's hard to figure out who to trust and who has your best interests in mind. Everyone is so seemingly in competition with each other too to be the most unique. Issues surrounding gatekeeping clothes and information are very tiresome. Blocking information behind Patreons is annoying. Same with private fashion-oriented Discord servers, since they've basically killed off traditional means of discussing fashion via open forums. And I'm sure there's more I said, but I'm honestly done with negativity. Keep my advice in mind because I'm the most important person and this critique does not apply to me since I am above you all. But for real, stay true to yourself, go at your own pace, be good to each other, do your best, and don't piss me off. Later, Ragers. Also, I'm going to be away for a couple weeks and just a little busy, so no videos or streams for a while, but in April, it'll get back to normal. Thank you again for watching, and goodbye.